Las Vegas, Sin City, a glimmering desert town of iconic landmarks, casinos, world-class resorts, and round-the-clock nightlife. Now, I come here about once a year for business. Now, that's cool and all, but for me, the best part of coming to Vegas is that it's such a great hub for adventure. Sin City is just a few hours away from natural wonders, national parks, forests, and some of the most remote, adventurous destinations in the country. This time, I was headed to Death Valley. Lucky for me, I snagged this badass 4Runner on Outdoorsy.com so I could get a few days of adventure in just before I had to be back in town in a monkey suit. I picked up some supplies in Henderson and hit Highway 95 towards the California state line. As a vast desert wilderness in eastern California, Death Valley is the largest national park in the lower 48 and covers more than 3,000 square miles. It's a prime area for hiking, backcountry camping, with hundreds of miles of unpaved roads and hiking trails, meandering through stunning geological features and unique desert landscapes. And for people like me that like to drive off in the middle of nowhere and set up camp, Death Valley is the perfect destination. Most of the time I try to find a camp before dark, but I gotta admit, I also love the adventure and unknown elements of wandering out into the darkness alone to find a place to stay. I popped my tent, started whipping up some dinner, and settled down after a 15-hour day of airports, flying, Uber rides, and driving.
I am maybe a few miles down the road off the paved road, and got this site up against this little hill up here, up against these rocks. Pretty cool site. It's going to be so peaceful out here tonight. So I just picked up this truck a few hours ago. I was such in a rush, I didn't even really get to take inventory to see what's in here, and I already see I'm missing some things. So unfortunately, I think when I wake up tomorrow, I'm gonna have to go run to a store somewhere. And one of the things that's a pain in the ass with that is I'm gonna have to drive 40 miles to go to a store. But I think it's better that I go do it in the morning, make sure I have everything I need before I get deeper out in the desert. All right. So I do not know how cold it is, but it's pretty damn cold. I've got like 4 layers on here. My core is warm. It's just my extremities. I'm just sitting out here in the silence, and when I take these adventures alone, it's not always that I want to go alone. It's just that you can't always get somebody to come with you. I've just become acclimated. If I want to go do something, I go do something. And, I usually do things alone because, well, if I waited for people to come with me and I tried to schedule things, honestly, I wouldn't do half of these things. So that's why I end up alone all the time. Man, there's just something when I get in the deserts, other places, traveling to other countries alone and all that. You're with people and you're doing things, and, even in the jungles, uh, there's people around. I usually end up around villages. But when I go to a place like Big Bend, or when I went to Joshua Tree or out here, and you get somewhere and you're the only person for miles, and there's no wind, there's no trees rustling, there's no waves crashing, there's just nothing. It's almost like it's some kind of meditation. Like when you sit here and you try to hear something and you can't. I don't know how to describe it. It's like if I came out here with people, I probably wouldn't experience it. Okay, so something I just realized is I don't have a pot to boil water. The
the guy who rent me the truck, apparently he didn't throw that in here. I thought it was on the list. Anyway, I cannot boil water, which means I can't have coffee. And I need my coffee in the mornings, or I get very angry. So, it's definitely what I'm gonna do first. I'm gonna pack up camp. Gonna go find some kind of little town or store, get some of the supplies that I need, and come back, start exploring the park.
So I packed up my camp and headed back out onto the paved highway. You've got to pack most of your stuff before you come out to Death Valley, because there's just not much around here other than a small store or two in Furnace Creek and Stovepipe Wells. Luckily, I got my dose of coffee at the only gas station in the park.
So I am at the Mesquite Sand Dunes here at Death Valley National Park, and pretty beautiful day. It's got to be, I don't know, maybe a couple miles these sand dunes stretch, and there is one over there which I see, which is like the highest peak. I think we're gonna go try to make it up there. There are a bunch of people around here, and man, it's amazing how big these dunes are, how big this place is. You can see little people that dance way out there. I'm trying to find the most efficient way to traverse these dunes. Obviously, I don't think it would make much sense to just go up and down, up and down, up and down. You're going to waste all your energy. So I see some little ravines that I think I can follow to make my way closer to that big peak over there, and then save all my energy for climbing up that big peak, because it's not that high, but climbing the sand, it gets to be a little difficult. It burns a lot of energy. So I think we're going to try that. I might be like halfway. This is definitely further than it looks. I think maybe I'm like 45 minutes in. The dunes and the distances here are definitely, they're deceiving. If things look closer and you start hiking and walking, and it is a lot further than it looks. All right, all I got to do is climb this last peak and we're there. And doesn't look that high, but it is quite a hike. Roads over there, maybe it's only like a mile by foot, but you tack on all the through the dunes, maybe it's a couple miles, I don't know, but it is way more deceiving. I could see how if you were lost somewhere in this environment, you might think, oh, that's a half-day hike, and it ends up taking 2 days. So okay, so I am here, the highest dune in Mesquite Dunes, Death Valley National Park. There's a couple people that were out here before and have since left. I think I'm the only one out here. It is pretty amazing. Good bit of a hike to get out here. It took me about an hour. That was more than I thought it would take. I may take a different way back. I see the road over there, so fortunately it's easy to find your way. I've got that mountain, some navigation points, so I'm gonna take a different way back. it's deceiving, the height of some of these dunes, because you climb in and out, you're climbing in and out, and pretty cool experience. I went to Valley of the Moon in Jordan when I went to Israel a couple years ago. This reminds me of Valley of the Moon. I went to Petra and I went to a couple camps out there, but I didn't get to do much hiking, you know, at least not like this. We were driving the dunes in a Toyota Hilux, which was still cool, but just to be out here by yourself hiking in this environment, it's pretty amazing. All right, so this ridge I was coming up, it was quite steep. If you look at the drop off here, it slopes down to almost, it slopes and goes almost straight down over there. We're probably 100 feet up, I don't know. But if you lost your if you lost your footing up here, you're in trouble. You're not going to stop till you hit the floor down there. There's some other dunes with more of a gradual slope. There were people rolling down there, but definitely a unique hiking. I've done lots of desert hiking, but that is more rocky trails. Just hiking in sand like this is quite different.
I ended up back at the truck with quite a bit of sand in my shoes, and in my socks, and in my pockets, and in some other personal places. I went back in search of a little store to try to get a pot and some toilet paper, but when you're in Death Valley, you just don't have many options.
So I found this fancy place called the Oasis, and I got this little backpacking pot for $20. It's kind of a lot of money just to boil a little bit water, but at least I can get coffee in the mornings. They don't even have toilet paper, but I got some paper towel and napkins, so worst case scenario, I'll just wipe my ass with this.
I headed back out onto the road to Badwater Basin, the lowest point in North America, with an elevation of 282 feet below sea level. The salt flats here stretch for miles and are a result of the evaporation of shallow pools of salt water left behind after rare and sporadic rainstorms. I was able to get in a few more miles hiking on the Golden Canyon Trail, which took me through canyon walls, narrow passages, and beautiful rock formations. With only about 3 hours to sunset and no idea where I was going to camp, I figured it was time to hit the backcountry roads in search of a cool site. With more than 36 miles of remote desert and unpaved access ahead of me, Greenwater Valley would be the perfect place to lay my head.